when and why did you started to play music?
I come from a somewhat musical family. My grandparents were almost all of them professional musicians at some point. So I think some of it was in my genes and in my blood. But the thing that really got me interested in music the most was hearing the bass guitar when I was about 9 years old. I heard the sound of the bass guitar and just really felt a strong feeling for it, and really had a strong feeling that this was something I wanted to be involved with.
Okay, so bass guitar was your first instrument?
Well, almost. What actually happened was there was a TV show on every week where there was a little bass break, bass playing by itself in the theme of the TV show, but you couldn't see the musicians. So I didn't know what instrument it was. I just heard the sound, and I told my mother, I want to play that instrument right there. What's that instrument that makes that sound? And, you know, this time she didn't know what instrument it was. She said maybe it was an organ. So first I had some piano lessons.
Oh, okay.
And that was nice, but it wasn't the same as bass guitar. So I played piano a little first, and then bass guitar shortly after.
Piano, but only in the bass notes.
Yeah, pretty much. I'd like to stay down here.
And are you self-taught, or did you take lessons? I mean, in the first years, maybe? Or?
I took lessons. In those days, the lessons for bass guitar especially were very poor. There wasn't a lot of didactic material for bass guitar. But I had a friend who was a great bass player, and I studied from him. And then when I finished high school, I went to Berklee School of Music. And I stayed there for 2 semesters, not quite a year. And then I got a gig and went on the road playing music and just kept playing music. A few years later, maybe two or 3 years later, I was living in New York City, and I studied some with Jaco Pastorius. And that was about the extent of my official music studies. The rest I taught myself.
What kind of lessons it was?
With Jaco?
Yes.
It's difficult to explain. He was a complicated person. Mostly, I had a lot of information, I had a lot of questions, a lot of information that I wanted to get from him. And he was very kind about answering, you know, a million questions from this kid who was, you know, crazy for...
Was it more about feelings, or that kind of mood, or more only a theory?
Mostly, at that point I studied with him, I understood his music and could play a lot of his pieces for him and play a lot of his solos. And so I didn't ask him to explain the theory because I mostly understood what was happening, but I wanted to understand how he played what he did, how he thought of his ideas. Yeah, about the compositions and the way he composed his improvisations, things like that. A lot about how he was able to play the kind of phrasing, the way he did, would play a particular melody a particular way, because it was so fluid and so beautiful, the way that he was able to play melodies. And so I had a lot of questions about how to do that kind of phrasing that he did. It was so amazing.
Okay, so nice experience.
It was a good experience. At that point, he really was my big idol. When I was at that point in my life, he was my. You know, I wanted to be just like him. At least I thought I did. And so it was a good experience to get to know him. I think I learned more from the experience personally than musically. Because as I said, I had listened to his music so much and studied it so much.
Human experience?
The main experience was just more on a personal level and understanding who he was, coming to get to know him and who he was and how that connected to the music he made. And I think the best thing about it is it helped me to understand that, you know, I'm a very, very different person from who he was. And so it helped me to find my own voice, but still retain the love that I have for his style and his innovations.
Okay. Which album is the most representative of your personality, if there is one? or two?
I suppose always my last solo album is, most recent solo album is most representative of myself because particularly for the last one, no one else was involved. I did everything myself, so I suppose the last one would be, but I try to, give a little of something of myself to every project I do. I play on hundreds and hundreds of records.
I've seen you in concert some years ago. It was in Paris, and you played alone on stage. When did you start, and how did you feel with the pressure?
Playing solo bass was something I always wanted to do since I was a little kid. Since I started playing, I always wanted to play solo bass because I just love the sound of the bass, and I liked hearing it by itself because when you play by yourself, you can hear all the little subtleties of the sound and all the intricacies of the sound. And so it was something I always wanted to do, but all my friends told me that I couldn't do it, that nobody played solo bass and nobody would come to see a show. So I, mostly focused on playing in bands and being a regular bass player. But I always tried to play, here and there little solo bass pieces, and more I found I had more and more chances to play. And finally, when I was about 25, somebody asked me to play a whole solo concert of solo bass music. So that's when I really was able to start doing that. And it's very different from playing with a group, with a band. But it's something I really enjoy. And I usually get so lost in the music when I'm playing, I forget where I am. And so I don't really, I sometimes feel nervous beforehand, but usually once I start playing, I go to a different universe, I think.
And so when you are touring, what's your gear, your musical gear with you? I see you have your bass. It's Zon.
The company is called Zon Guitars from California.
From California, okay.
Yeah. And I design the instruments with them, the instruments that I play, I help design. So this one's a little unusual because it has a very long fingerboard. It's almost 3 octaves, this fingerboard. So there's an extra octave there. And the reason we did that is because since it's fretless, we couldn't think of why the fingerboard should end here. So we just extended the fingerboard all the way to the pickup. And it's ended up being something I really like. I really prefer to have this long fingerboard. It's pretty hard to play normally up here, but there are a lot of things about having a long fingerboard that I really like. And yeah, we did a big cutaway here so that it's a little easier to play way up high on the fingerboard. And the really other unusual thing about this bass is that it has ability to change tuning up here. I can change tuning on each string with these hip shots.
You play a lot with this tuning system?
I do, not all the time, but in particular when I'm doing solo music, I go through a lot of different tunings. I can move through a lot of different tunings very quickly. That way it's very, as I said, it's another way of experimenting with the colors of the instrument and different sounds.
If people who see this interview want to know more on this bass guitar, I guess there is a website?
There is, zonguitars.com.
Zonguitars.com
is the website. I don't know if they have any information about this particular instrument on there because I don't know if they sell this one or if this one they made just for me. I'm not sure. There's a link on my webpage directly to Zon Guitars, so if people go to my website, which is michael-manring.com.